Now that you have recorded narration, you need to add additional layers of sound, your clip, music, and if you choose to, your Foley sound effects. Make sure that you have all of your sound files located on your hard drive. For me, it's in the sound files in my videos folder. And here you can see the buzz sound effect that I downloaded, a clip from Steven Universe, the music from Costa, as well as music from Ryan Cullinane, as things that I've downloaded in our previous tutorials. You're also going to want to find your project file for your Fancast and the folder that has all of the raw data. Down there it is. Before you get started, we're going to double click on Fancast assignment for your Audacity project. So Audacity loads for you. And here is your project that you have already cleaned up. Now, in the top menu under File, select Import, and then Audio. A new dialog box will open. Locate and select your audio files from stage 1, and then click Open. So again, for me, it's desktop. Mine's hidden away, but yours might be elsewhere. You'll have them listed somewhere, I am sure. I'm going to go ahead and select all of mine at one time. You can either do this individually or as a group, and then click Open. A new dialog box will open, and it's going to ask you whether or not you want to make a copy of the files, which is safer, or use the files directly. I'm going to recommend, as does Audacity, that you make a copy of the files before editing. So you're going to click on OK. When you say make a copy, it's going to ask you to do that a couple of times. And then all of the files will load on top of each other. So here's my original audio track. Here is the buzz sound effect. And my two instrumentals. Okay. Each sound is imported to its own track. You can shift the location of the sounds around on the timeline using the Time Shift tool, which looks like a double-headed arrow. You can trim, delete, and split sounds. To split sounds, use the cursor tool and mark a line by clicking in the timeline and track where you would like to split the audio clip. Then go to Edit, Clip Boundaries, and Split. Alternatively, you can use Control-I on a PC or Command or Apple-I on a Mac to create a split. You'll see that there's a large, thick horizontal line, not horizontal, vertical line that goes down your timeline, and if you click your Time Shift tool, you have two clips now. Once you have edited the sounds you are intending to use, trimming and deleting that which you don't need, splitting and moving that which you want, you have two more steps to complete before we get there to complete. But before we get there, remember to save your project as you go. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to time shift my buzzer sound over here to be a bridge. And I'm going to move this music to the very end to be my exit music. There. And remember, you can do File, Save Project, or Control S or Apple S to save. Now that you've saved, we must adjust our output levels. Remember, we want to make sure that we can hear our vocals over anything else that might be going on. So, Each track has individual controls for gain and balance. Gain is this slider here that has a plus and minus. That's literally the output levels. And then below it is balance. That's the left and right stereo speaker. I'm going to bump up my vocals by 7 decibels. Seems about right. I'm going to bring down my buzzer by quite a bit, actually, because it's very loud. And then for my music, again, because it's background music, I want it to be softer than my vocals. You'll see there. You're going to do a lot of playing back to test out what the sounds are going to sound like after every adjustment. And once again, remember to save. Once your levels are mixed, you may want to include fade in and fade outs for certain sounds, particularly music, so it doesn't end in an abrupt end. In the toolbox at the top, you can find the multi-tool. It looks like a lesser than or greater than horizontal line and a lesser than. Go ahead and click on that. And then click in the timeline that you want to have the fade, so on the track, where you want that fade to begin. So I'm going to do it around here because I want it to fade out. And then you'll notice that the cursor becomes 2 white lines, and there's an automatic placement for the end. You're going to hover until you get those 2 white lines, 2 little white arrows really, around that second purple dot, and you're going to click and drag towards the center of your waveform. Oop, doop, too far. Still too far. There we go. You can also click and drag those purple dots to shorten or lengthen the fade over time. And again, listening to your playback is important. Once you've made your adjustments accordingly, you can add as many of those lines as you need to, or dots that you need to. Come on. Keep reading, even if you have made a mistake, but mark the rough. Yep. Once your levels are mixed, you may want to include fade in and fade outs for certain sounds, particularly music, instead of an abrupt end. In the toolbox at the top, you can find the multi-tool. Multi-tool. Which looks like a greater than vertical line and a lesser than type symbol. In the track, you want to have a fade in or fade out. Click in the timeline where you want the fade to begin, and a purple dot will appear. Then click again where you want the fade out to end. Now hover the cursor tool over the dot, the second dot where you want it to end, until you get 2 white triangles. Then click and drag towards the center, and you can see how the waveforms will smush. Eventually, it will do a click. There we go. And when they meet, it will be completely faded out. You can also click your original dot and drag to extend or shorten that fade out. Once again, play around and listen to playback till you are happy with your project. Well, now that you've put in all of the fade in, fade outs, and all of your sounds, it's time to begin the saving process and exporting. So, save your project one more time. Go up to File, Save Project. Then return back to File, and we're going to Export Audio. You're going to name your file appropriately. And this time, we're going to have a specific file convention. It's going to be your last name, underscore your first name, underscore the title of your fan cast. Whatever it is. And then you're going to go under file type. Wait, nope, sorry. Then you're going to make sure that you're saving it someplace you can find again. So for me, I'm going to put it on the desktop. For you, it's documents. Doesn't matter where, as long as you know where it is. Then we're going to go down to file type. Now, I'm going to have you guys do the Wave Microsoft 32-bit float PCM codec. And the reason for that is that if you're on a Mac, you automatically get the MP3 codec. If you're on a PC, you don't. You have to get an external codec, add it. It's a pain in the butt. So since some people will have access to MP3s and some people won't, we're going to eschew MP3s altogether, and we're going to go with a WAV format. And we're going to do the 32-bit because it's a bit higher in resolution. So go ahead and hit 32-bit WAV, and then click Save. Gives you a warning that tells you, hey, all of your stuff's going to go down to a single track that's a stereo track. So that's fine. We want it to do that because that's the only way it can play back. But it means that all of your layers are going to get smushed in the export file. That's okay. And then it comes up with a dialog box. And this dialog box is all of the metadata that players like iTunes or Winamp use to get their info about a track. So under artist name, I want you to put your name. Under track title, it's the name of your episode. Your episode title for the album title, it could be the name of your fan cast series, if you have one. For your track number, it's going to be track 1 because this is your pilot episode. The year timestamp will probably be right. In fact, it'll be the exact publication time. And then for soundtrack, for genre, you can do fan cast or podcast. Should be on that list. Comments can be additional information that you want to give to your audience, liner notes as it were. Copyright message, this is where you get to decide what copyright you're going to hold on this content. Now remember, all of your sounds should come from Creative Commons license as long as you have your attribution within the body of your fan cast, that lovely little end credit sequence. You have a new copyright. So you can decide to keep it or have a non-commercial license, however you want to do it. If you're confused about what kind of copyright you want to hold, refer back to the beginning of the semester when we talked about Creative Commons and go through there. For band, you have a couple of options. If you're using one single artist for all of your theme music, you might want to give him credit here. Otherwise, you can leave this area blank. Do the best that you can. And once you've filled out the form, go ahead and hit OK. It might take a few seconds for your export to happen. And when it does, it'll show up on your desktop or wherever you saved it with the title and the WAV. And you can import that to iTunes or whatever player you want. But more importantly, you can save your project, all of your raw files, and your MP3 or your WAV file, audio export file, to a flash drive, to the cloud, and more importantly, submit your export file, your WAV file, to the class for your assignment.